Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Intro to Intelligence video. We're going to do this one a little bit different, in which we're going to be, I'm going to be taking like notes, and then you guys will be writing. It will not be like, I will not be writing everything, so you will be adding some stuff as we go. For this one, I actually do not want you guys to put too much space, really. You actually don't need that much space for the margin, you know how I usually tell you. So really, if you want to leave just like the side of where the red margin is, that's fine. And then do like the notes how we regularly do it without that space in between, because this one will not require you guys to put too many examples. It's just kind of like the information. So first thing we're going to start with is intelligence. What exactly is intelligence? And definitely this is a conversation always to have, because what exactly, how do you define intelligence? And it's definitely one of those things that a lot of psychologists actually debate about. For the sake of this class, you're basically, what is intelligence is, and I'm not sure why it's not writing now. Okay, see, now we're gonna have issues with the lovely little notebook, but whatever. If it's not the PowerPoint, it's this. Yay. All right. I'm gonna try to make this as fun as possible, as we enjoy all these issues that Miss Lambana has making these lovely videos for you guys. Anyway, so intelligence, ready? We're gonna write down the information. Is basically the ability to learn from experience. And I love this definition because it really amplifies and changes how we view intelligence. So this is the ability to learn from experiences, solve problems, and use knowledge to adapt to new situations. So this is all that we're able to learn from experience, solve problems, and use this knowledge to adapt, right? Adapt to new situations. So it's kind of it takes away from this whole academic thing that we're so used to, like what is intelligence. So it's a great definition, and it's still in for debate. Okay, now intelligence is also one of those things as it's viewed. It's basically that there are qualities that are going to allow for success, right, in your own life. So having intelligence, it's going to produce qualities that basically is going to allow you to have success in life. Okay. You also need to note that culture is going to influence intelligence and how we view it. So make sure you're writing that down. I'm not going to write everything, so I will be looking to make sure you're writing other things other than what's on there. So culture is going to influence how we see intelligence, and then it's also going to influence how it's measured. Okay. So make sure to write that down. Under intelligence, I also want you to know, write down how we assess intelligence, at least for us, will be intelligence test. Okay. And then intelligence tests are basically individual aptitudes, which are basically your natural abilities or your abilities. And you're going to compare them with others of your same age and those scores. Okay, so that is intelligence test. Make sure that you have all of them, all of the different components, that it's not just your aptitude, which is your natural abilities, but it also is going to compare with others, right? Because yes, we as humans love to compare ourselves to one another. Not. Okay, so you're gonna skip a line and then we're gonna start the next one, which is the different types of intelligence. Okay, and I'm gonna start with the first one. So I'm just gonna be putting in the top, like the main topics, and then you guys will be writing the rest in between. So don't think you're gonna fast forward through this video and just look at the papelito and be like, oh, that's what I'm gonna write. No, 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 because it's not gonna make any sense. So in order for this video stuff to work, you gotta listen to me. Okay, I will try to make it as entertaining as possible, as I possibly can. Okay, the first real intelligence, like the definition and how we kind of came about, was what's called the general intelligence. Okay, and general intelligence was made by and discovered, right, by this guy named Charles Spearman. And good way to remember him is Spearman, like a spear. He spearheaded this whole idea of intelligence. And he calls it like the G. You'll see it kind of slanted, like I italicized the G. So sometimes he'll look at it at the G score. Okay. And G score is just basically your general intelligence. All right. You're going to continue writing notes on this. I'm not going to write it because it'll take too much time. But I want you to write down that the general intelligence is basically your mental abilities, writing this down, mental abilities, and it's measured by your everyday task. Okay? Now, he said that basically, if you're going to have a high score in your intelligence, like your general intelligence, then you're going to do well in all other areas of intelligence, right? Of what is intelligence. So basically, if you're going to have a high intelligence, you're going to do well in many different things, okay? So he developed what's called the factor analysis. Now, factor analysis, I'm actually going to go over a little bit more in class because it's a little confusing. But factor analysis is basically, write this down, is the grouping of items when they're giving you like a test. They're going to group the items based on the mental abilities. So, for instance, if you ever take an IQ test, right, and it's going to measure your nonverbal, your verbal, and let's say your speed, your processing of speed, they can't just give you one test, right, and determine your skill in that. They're going to give you a bunch of different skills or activities that when they group them together will give you essentially your average score for your nonverbal intelligence, right, or your verbal intelligence. So they kind of give you a bunch of little activities to do, they group them together and they get your score. Okay, so that's factor analysis. We're going to see this again, especially when we see like personality tests. Those usually use factor analysis as well. And we'll talk about it a little bit more. So this guy kind of spearheaded, right? Spearman, he spearheaded this whole thing about intelligence and kind of defining it and trying to create like a test for people to assess in people's intelligence, okay? But under here, I want you to also write this guy. His name was Thurn Stone, and I do not have his first name right now, but I could get it to you when we get to the class. But that's okay. You just need to know Thurnstone, and he is going to go against um Spearman. Okay, just a little bit, not, he kind of like continued Spearman's thing, and he basically is saying that there needs to be more than just a few tests, right? So he called it what's called the multi-factor theory, and that there needs to be different factors that compose your intelligence. It's not just like general information that you know, it's a little bit more. So, like, for example, write these things down. You need to, he worked on like word fluency, your verbal comprehension, spatial abilities, perceptual speed. Okay, so memory is also included there. So he was like not just saying like it's just not one single scale, that it actually is a part of a bigger, like there's different components to intelligence. Okay, and or how to measure it is a better way. So he kind of like expanded on what Spearman did. Okay, Thurnstone. So Thurnstone is going to lead the way to what will eventually become the exams that we see here. Okay, now um, under Spearman, he also just add there this G factor, which is basically your general intelligence and which is your ability to solve problems. Okay, so that kind of goes into what's this called? This guy, the Spearman. So he says if you're able to solve problems, your general factor is high, you're going to be able to solve problems a lot easier. Okay, now the different um, type of intelligence or how we assess is what's called the multiple intelligence. So, which was created by Howard Gardner, sorry. like a little gardener. I always think of the way I remember gardener is I just think of a garden and a bunch of little flowers, and each little flower represents the different multiple intelligence. So Howard Gardner basically was like, okay, look, if you're gonna just test somebody on their general intelligence, right? Like we just can't say how their problem solving is going to be their ultimate intelligence. Like there has to be other factors and there's other areas that people are quite intelligent on. So here comes Howard Gardner, and he coins this whole term of multiple intelligence. And he actually says there's 8 types of intelligence, um, which is great because it kind of opens up the floor to a lot more people. It's not just like, oh, you're good at problem solving, that's it. For here, he did basically a bunch of case studies, right? We're making sure that we're doing this. He did a bunch of case studies. There is some validity to his methods, okay? But it's not typically the one that we use like for school specifically, okay? Now, you guys have a worksheet that I gave you that had the different types of intelligence, and I do want you to make sure that you have them on. You need to list all of them here, okay, on this paper. So first one is going to be linguistic, writing it down. Then logical, mathematical, or logical. Next one is musical, spatial, body kinesthetic, intrapersonal, interpersonal, and naturalistic. Okay. And he says that basically, when in order for you to be successful, is basically really focusing on what is your intelligence, right? Like if you're really good at public speaking, right, you're probably going to be a linguistic, right? You're linguistic. Or if you're a dancer or sports, you're going to be the kinesthetic, right? Your intelligence will lie there. So it just kind of ranges intelligence. Really nice to see this. Now, the next theory is going to be, and of course, it just alternately changes the pen here on our lovely little iPad. The next one is going to be, it's the Stern, it's called by the guy's name, Sternberg's intelligence. It's like 3. It's called try something. But I'll get to that. It's okay. It's like 3 intelligence, but it's really easy to remember. So the way that he divides it is by the first one is practical, and this one is just how you adapt to change in your environment. Okay, so practical. It's literally survival, right? Like, can you adapt to change, as well as are you successful in your everyday task? Okay. Um, so that's basically it, right? Like your day-to-day stuff, problem solving, adapting to change, things like that. The next one is going to be analytic. Okay, and then analytical is more of this academic problem solving, right? This is with reasoning, problem solving, and this is what you see mostly in intelligence tests. Okay, so please make sure that you've written down for practical intelligence, analytical, what it means. Okay, and then you're gonna have the next one, which is creative. Creative intelligence is basically being that divergent thinker, right? Coming up with new ideas, unique solutions to problems. So this is when you're being that divergent thinker. Some people tend to be a lot more, uh, are really good at that. So for this one, good way to remember is the pack, right? Like at Miami Art Studios, our pack is basically, it feeds into this Sternberg's the 3 intelligence, because practical, right? Our everyday survival, we need it. Then we have the analytical, which is the academic side, and then the creative is where your magnet strand should allow you to be the creative self that you all are. Okay, so then we get to number 4, which is an emotional intelligence. This one's a little different, and we'll talk a lot more about this, especially when we get to the unit of emotions. But this one is more of a social intelligence. Okay, so we're writing all of this down. Social intelligence, which allows us, and there's going to be 4 components. I'll tell you soon now what they are. but it allows us to be successful with emotionally and socially within ourselves and with others. So the four different components of what makes an emotional intelligence, or what rates your emotional intelligence, is first one is perceiving emotions, right? Are you able to recognize other people's emotions as well as your own emotions? Second one is understanding the emotions, right? Knowing, being able to predict and know why behaviors, sorry, not behaviors, emotions change, okay? So it's understanding the emotion. The next one is managing your emotions. Do you know how to express them in any situation? And last but not least is using the emotions correctly to enable adaptive or creative thinking. So please make sure that you have all of those four. And what does it mean? Because you're definitely going to need to know that. Now, they've linked that having high intelligence, actually, you do better job performance. You're okay with what's called delayed gratification, that you're willing to work really hard and wait, not just get, wanting to get the answer, not the answers, but like the reward right away. Um, and basically, people that have high emotional intelligence tend to do really well in social settings and with relationships and within themselves. Okay? And that is it for the different types of intelligence. And that's it. I'm not gonna do that weird, okay, bye. But I am. Bye.